This is the Truth Network.
I'm in Tehachapi, California, next to a man who has done some of the most amazing ministry things. I call him Uncle David because he's been like an uncle to me. He drove the getaway car at my wedding. We just had an amazing lunch with Pastor Marvin. How long have you and my father-in-law Marvin been friends?
Well, I knew Marvin when he was 18 years old.
Wow. And so you're 85 years old?
Yeah, I'm 86.
86, and you're not doing any ministry. You're just kind of chasing a little white ball, lazying around, just watching TV and betting to the races, right? Is that what you're doing now?
Well, no, I work with actually drug addicts, prostitutes, and felons, and I work with people living in the wash and homeless.
Oh, my soul. So you are fully engaged in ministry at 86, a little like Caleb. Just like Marvin, you guys still serving the Lord. You're on your way to teach a Bible study on apologetics tonight in Valencia. Now, you split your time between there and Idaho, right? Tell us a little bit about what you're doing in your life right now for our listeners to know about this.
Well, in Idaho, I actually run history tours in a 1911 Model T, and all the money goes to child trafficking and drug rehabilitation. And then I meet with guys that are coming out of the ranch or our drug program and encourage them and work with them. And sometimes just go up and interact with guys that just came off the street. Wow. So that's pretty much what I do up in Idaho.
So there's a young man who, let's step over here where it's not so loud. There's a young man who was a juvenile. I mean, tell us his story, because now he's a part of this massive, amazing church that's booming, but wasn't always like that when he was a little kid, huh?
No, he actually was born to a 15-year-old prostitute. His name is Steve Hemming, and he came up there. His grandparents brought him up to get away from his mother, who was the prostitute, and his father was a drug addict. And he started selling drugs at 13, and they put him he was incarcerated, and then he stayed in prison or under the lockup until he was 26. At one time, at maybe 20 years old, he got out. He was selling drugs, and this girl came through that needed some drugs, but she didn't have any money, so he got sex from her and gave her drugs, and then he went back to prison. He heard about this drug program I work with and thought, nuts, I'll just run away. He committed his life to putting God first and really began to really grow in his walk with the Lord. He was working around the church at one time, and this girl he sold drugs to came through in the women's side. And so they started talking. They thought, there may be an emotional connection here. And so they decided they would actually date, but they wouldn't kiss each other unless they were married. Well, they've kissed each other because now they've got a son and a daughter, and a church that was crumbling and falling by the wayside with only 7 families said, would you come help us out? And they made him the pastor, and now the church is in double services, and he's just been an amazing guy. He just gave a kidney to an 11-year-old boy, and so that happened this January.
So you found your program, and so you are counseling, doing Bible studies with some of the worst of the worst. I mean, what is that? How does that resonate with what Jesus, when he said, hey, go as much as you've done it to the least of these? What is it that's God's put on your heart for these people?
Well, I'm just amazed at the transformation that people make. I mean, one of the number one drug dealers in Idaho came to know Christ. He was in the 6th grade, kicked out of school. Now comes to know Christ. He's growing. He works with other drug addicts. And now all the people that used to sentence him in jail, now he takes bear hunting and elk hunting and deer hunting. And he's associate pastor in the church I go to.
Wow. So there's hope for the hopeless. And there's help for those that are lost. They just need to recognize, we all need to recognize that we need Jesus, that we're sinners, that we need grace, right?
Absolutely. And God, if we're obedient to God, God will transform our lives and make it something beautiful.
Wow. David Woodworth is my special guest. Just a quick visit here in Tehachapi. Now, if you've never been to Tehachapi, California, it's a little slice of heaven, 4,000 feet up in the air in the beautiful mountains, the Tehachapi Pass Mountains. I guess you got, how would you describe this place, David Woodworth?
Well, it was my first home when I left LA, and I lived here for a number of years, and it's a little rural community that everybody knows everybody.
Now, Pastor Marvin just jolted out. He got in the car. He's got to go to another meeting, but he was the one that married my wife, and he's my father-in-law, and Diane, wonderful people, and they've been lifelong friends of you and Sharon, and you've been in the ministry. You were in Bible college with Marvin. You've seen a whole lot over your span of ministry. At 86 years old, you got grandkids. You're leading Bible studies still. You're cutting edge. What would you say to your younger self? What would you say? What advice would you give to maybe some younger ministers coming up through it, that are really trying to serve the Lord out there?
Well, I think without a doubt, the most important thing is the Bible is really true and you can rely on it. And I think too many people look at it as an academic pursuit, but it's really giving yourself to obedience to what God wants. And once you give yourself to living out what God asks you to do, your life will be revolutionary changed.
And you were telling about another fella, I guess he got shot or something. When we were at lunch, another story, a miracle story of a guy. You want to care to share that with our listeners?
Sure. You can look this up on the internet. His name is Pastor Tim Remington. He one day walked out of church, and a fellow that was mentally ill shot him from 12 to 15 feet with a 45 caliber hollow point. One bullet hit his vest and went through his vest and shirt and fell in his pocket. One bullet hit him in the back. One bullet hit his shoulder, ricocheted, went through the skull, stopped in the soft tissue of the brain, and the surgeon pulled it out. 3 bullets went into his body. He's the one that actually started the drug program that I work with. And he's an amazing fellow. He loves working with people that need a second chance. His hobby is quantum physics. The governor of Idaho selected him to serve in the state legislature. He's written up in Wikipedia. Tim Remington, you read about it, he'll inspire your life.
Yeah, it's inspiring to talk to you. Every time I talk to you, I walk away with just a bigger faith. I'm wondering, friends, who's in your life that you hang out with and you just have this on fire person that just pushes you closer to Christ, that makes you want to share the gospel. We share the gospel with our waiter in there in the restaurant. We gave him a tract that I've just pulled off the shelf of Marvin's original church, and that was a new pastor there, but Marvin and Dan are still going. Mountain Bible Church here in Tehachapi. And people want to find your ministry, maybe come by your church or your ministry, to the down and outers there in Idaho. Maybe someone needs a second chance, needs some counseling, encouragement. How would they reach you, David Woodworth?
Well, they can reach the church in Idaho. Yeah. It's called The Altar, and it is in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Or you can even call me personally. My number is 661-303. 1203.
I'm pretty courageous to give your personal cell number over a national radio show. David Woodworth, man of God, and your vocation all these years, you're definitely bivocational. I mean, you're preaching the gospel, leading Bible studies, counseling people, helping people find Christ, bringing people up into Christ. But you've had this wonderful hobby. You've been on the Today Show. You've got these campers. Tell everyone a little bit about that real quick. Take them into the life. This is one of the most fascinating people on this planet.
Well, at one time I had the world's largest collection of auto camping equipment, and I've done displays all over the U.S. I was a national spokesperson for the Recreation Vehicle Industry Association, and then when that kind of slowed down, I built a bed and breakfast in Yosemite National Park, ran that for 15 years, then sold that, then moved to Idaho and started a company where we give history tours in a 1911 Model T, and all the money goes to child trafficking and drug rehabilitation.
Your message to those out there, whether they're full-time in ministry, whether they're running RV companies, whether they're in business sales, of a homemaker, raising awesome kids. What's your message about the God of second chances and the grace of God, real quick, as we get out of here?
Well, God is a God of second chances. And if you put God first in your life, you will find your life will be transformed, and you'll have a sense of peace, confidence that you've never experienced before.
Now, you got a favorite Bible verse? If you could etch a Bible verse on your tombstone, my dad's is he loves Romans 8:1. He also loves that Micah 6:8 verse. What's yours?
Well,
your favorite verse?
Actually, I really like the Shema. Okay. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your strength. Who in the world can do that? But Jesus, just before he went to the cross, was praying, and he said, God, I really don't know that I want to be beat on and spit on and hit, but nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. And Paul says, the Apostle Paul, who was a rabbi and ended up following Christ, God hath made him, Jesus, to be sin in our behalf, that you and I might be made the righteousness of God in him.
Truth Talk.